Yeah, it's horrible.
And if we could maybe give a brief conversation, portion of our presentation on this.
Well, who said don't go to the answer rally? Well, actually, it was the spokespersons for the pro-Israel lobby inside the Congress. That's who told us not to go to the answer rally, and one of those individuals was Congressman Barney Frank. The primary, the top two. I was surprised when the Democratic Party said that they went along with this top two electoral change that you had here, because basically what it does is it obliterates the whole purpose of a primary. But maybe I shouldn't be surprised, because theoretically you can have two Democrats as the top two.
We've had that.
You've had that. Okay. So then, excuse me, for Congress. Okay, so then that explains why. But when the Republicans crossed over against me, we used the California case that went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and it was a California case. California v. Jones, I believe, was the case that we used where the Democratic Party said, no, we want to be able to have our own primary and be able to have it not interfered with. So this top two thing is something I think is partisan. It obliterates opportunity for smaller political parties to have, to probably wipes out the smaller parties, probably.
That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, and just a note, in the church committee reports, because I'm studying targeted assassination, I get to read all these wonderful government documents, right? And in the church committee reports, it's clear that FBI repression was meted out based on whether or not an individual believed in the two-party system. So if you believed in the two-party system, then the FBI left you alone. But if you were an independent thinker and an independent actor and didn't believe in the two-party system, then you were subjected to FBI repression. That's in the church committee reports.
Cynthia, I just wanted to say that I think something everyone knows here, that you're unique in that once elected, you didn't worry about getting the vote again, about getting, conducting yourself just to be reelected, and that's their own crime to vote within the politicians. But I want to say also this morning, I was reading all the tweets from Nicolas Maduro, the new Venezuelan president, just so decisive, doing it. We're going to overcome the blackouts, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. I formed a commission to eliminate the Caracas police and form a new humane police, blah, blah, blah. Compared to what's happened with the presidency. And I wonder if you could say something about that.
Well, this is Gloria Lariva, and she actually introduced me to Venezuela many, many years ago. And she and I were in Venezuela just about, 3 weeks ago? Something like that. And we were there, that was just prior to the election. And Nicolas Maduro, as you all now very well know, won the election. The United States is not recognizing the election. You know, we have stolen elections, fraudulent elections in the United States, and they have the nerve to say somebody else's election wasn't free and fair. It's amazing, and it's the kind, it speaks to the idea of American exceptionalism. But now, because I am more sensitive, I don't even use this American exceptionalism, because America is a whole hemisphere, right? And there's a whole lot of people, and it doesn't include people in the United States. They are actually the ones who are exceptional for being able to overthrow the imperialist yoke. So I support the right of Venezuela to self-determination, and will actually be doing my dissertation on Hugo Chavez. I'm really, really interested. Next, they're telling me I gotta go faster. Yes. Well, you know, here's the thing. I'm less familiar than you might think, and so that's why this whole foray for me is something that my professor at Antioch University told me, suggested that I should do, is expand my horizons. So I did that by investigating the American Indian movement and FBI repression against the American Indian movement and the Puerto Rican independence movement. And so now I'm going full throttle ahead with Venezuela. But in terms of how Hugo Chavez died, I think it's clear that Hugo Chavez had some ideas about how he came up with the cancer. And so now the answer actually has filed some Freedom of Information Act requests with respect to what U.S. government documents might reveal. That might be a very long process to get access to those documents. I wouldn't be surprised if shredding machines were going 24/7 all the time to make sure that we don't get those documents. It would be wonderful if we had one member of Congress who had the courage to say, I'm going to get those documents and make them available to the public. But, you know, I guess we won't hold our breaths on that. Who was, did we do our 5? Okay, we're going to do quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4, and...
We're 2 right here.
Oh, yeah, that's right. 0. So 0, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, wait a minute. And 5. Okay. 0.
Okay. I'd like, first of all, concerning Police Pro, I'd like to say Police Pro had a page that's called the Department of Homeland Security.
Yes, that's right.
I know firsthand what they can do. But I would like to know if you've looked at the situation in Papua New Guinea at all. The situation there is extremely
No, I have not, although I have some ideas, but I have not looked into it thoroughly, no. So, have I looked into the situation that's happening in Papua New Guinea? And the answer is that no, I have not. Next.
You already kind of touched on my question having to do with education. I'm of the opinion that the only way that we'll ever be able to really get ourselves out of any of these many numerous problems is we've got to bring up a thinking class of citizens, a thinking class of children that can,
That's right.
from the bottom up, start systematically changing these things. And I think it'll take a long time, but I really strongly feel like it starts with the children. To that end, after 20 years of being a professional pusher paper for government, I'm completely frustrated and, have seen very little good come of it. And so I've jumped out of the frying pan of being a manager and a bureaucrat for government, and now I'm working on a master's degree to become a teacher.
Fantastic.
But I say I'm jumping into the fire because, as I believe, as you do, that the real answer is private school and homeschooling. I'm going to go work in this public system, and I'm praying for strength and wisdom to be able to ignore the craziness that I'm sure I'll see and just teach some children.
Yeah.
But my question to you is, looking at that humongous mountain to climb of finding a new way to educate our children, and I love all the children, but I really am particularly interested in black children, particularly black boys. Have you seen any either working models that one could look to, or any brilliant individuals you've come across in the world that one could look to? Because I've been trying to contact my local charter school principal 3 blocks away for 6 months to work for free. I can't get a call back.
Wow.
So, I mean, I'm thinking we say one thing, but might involve things that actually say something else? Is there something working to look towards, to hope to build on?
The Shrine of the Black Madonna is one organization that is, at least for a while, was turning out brilliant young children. And then there's, of course, my reference are Atlanta-based, but there's a couple who have they have a school, which I don't know the name of the school, but they are teachers at this school, and they have a whole program that's geared around healing oppression's wounds, is what they call it. And that's everything from dealing with foreclosures to teaching young people how to think, it's sort of every aspect of life that is encountered by us or oppressed people, they deal with that. And school and education is a part of that. In fact, they recommended a particular school for my law school for my son, who went there and became a very conscious young man. So we can discuss afterwards. Yes?
Yeah, I was wondering if you could illuminate a little bit more what's happening in Syria, how it is similar to what happened in Libya, how it's different. All I understand from Wolf Blitzer is that in Syria, both Al-Qaeda and the U.S. government are united in overthrowing Assad. How often do you get two people like that together? It makes me think that the guy wasn't altogether a bad guy.
Well, you get that all the time, actually. In fact, if you listen to the former foreign minister of Great Britain, Robin Cook, wrote in The Guardian, maybe, but if you look it up, you can find, just look at Robin Cook. And he told us what Al-Qaeda is. Al-Qaeda is the Rolodex for the CIA. And so now if you start off with that, then all of the rest of it is hocus pocus, it's bogus stuff. And that's exactly what we're being fed. The question is, if you haven't been taught to think, then you won't analyze what you're being told. And so you can't criticize, because if you say that there's something wrong with the way the president thinks, then you're racist, so you can't talk about it. But the bottom line is that we are now in Afghanistan, the United States is in Afghanistan because of September 11th. We get these trite-rote responses, and you're not supposed to think beyond what they say. But what's happening in Syria is exactly what happened in Libya, which is exactly what is happening in
Oakland.
Where?
In Oakland.
Well, yes, yes.
Okay, so the other day in my political science class here at Laney, we were just having a really heated discussion about the bombing in Boston.
Yes.
A lot of things were being thrown around. People were talking about conspiracy, and then other people are like, of course they did it, etc., etc. So just
Of course, they who?
the young man or his brother or whoever that they're accusing of this crime. I don't have a specific question. I just wanted to bring up that because it's more recent news and ask you what your thoughts were around the bombings in Boston.
Well,
And also one other thing, sub-question, and what message do you think that sends to the nation as a whole?
the mother of the young men said that the FBI had been following them for the last 3 to 5 years. That's a clue. The University of Mobile cross-country coach said that there was more security there than he had ever seen at any marathon, and he's run marathons all over the world. He said he saw spotters and snipers on tops of buildings. He saw dogs, sniffing dogs, and he reported that they announced repeatedly or whatever, that this was a drill. Drill is a clue. 6 war games going on September 11th, that's a clue. War games, drills going on 7/7 at the tube bombing, that's a clue. Actually in Norway, there was a drill going on, that's a clue. So if they say the word drill, that's a clue. And so we got at least 2 clues. The Boston police say there was no drill going on. That's another clue. So I think I write about this in the book. I came back from Cape Town, South Africa. I was participating in the Bertrand Russell Tribunal on Palestine. And it was at that tribunal that we compared apartheid in South Africa to apartheid in Israel. And the jurors decided that Israel, although it's different, but the features of Israeli practice constitute the illegal crime of apartheid. And so I get back into Georgia, and the news is blown up with these hillbillies who have threatened to blow up me. But they didn't put it on the news like that. They said they were, caught in a terrorist plot. And so the FBI calls my house, and they asked to speak to me. Now you can imagine how my heart was shuddering. And they said, have you been watching the news? And it was right then. And they said, well, these people, they were going to kill you and President Obama and Eric Holder. Well, now, some hillbillies in the North Georgia mountains don't even know who I am, right? Unless somebody planted the idea that you gotta go blow that girl up. She's a problem for us, but she's really a problem for you, So, what exactly was the relationship that our intelligence services had with that family? What was the relationship? That's a question that we deserve an answer to. And until we get an answer, then I would say that we have to investigate that and not believe a thing they say. I wouldn't believe a thing. I don't believe government. It was bad enough when it was moved. And then on the other side, it was Waco and Ruby Ridge. And then in 2005, I was pulling my hair out and was Filiberto Ojeda Rios in his home, and the blood is flowing out the front door where they killed him. And they refused to let the ambulance come in. His wife was able to get out of the house and call an ambulance. They refused to let him in. This is the FBI. So, I need to know what they do, because I got the COINTELPRO papers. I've read them. I know what they do. That's why I wrote the papers on the targeted assassination. It happened. And these young men from the Black Panther Party, they can tell you. It's their comrades who were slain by the U.S. government. It's not just, hyperbole. It's real. So, what happened in Boston, we deserve to have the answer to that. Just like we deserve to have the answer to what happened on September 11th, and we haven't got that one either.
But do you think that that sends a question? Do you think that it sent a message, or that there's a message being sent to the rest of the nation? Because it was such a public event. I mean, it's like what happened to the children at the school, the movie theater, but it was such a public event.
Well, the murder of JFK was public. the Chechens in Syria, and who is financing the Chechen movement against the Russians. You know, there's a whole lot of geopolitical stuff that's going on as well. And you got to look at all of that. And I've been told that I've got to go. So we're going to finish this round of questions.
First of all, I want to go back a little to the crime issue.
Yes.
That was presented here today as though that were a fact, that there's this outrageous crime epidemic. And Justice Research Team, our studies have shown that, first of all, the crime rate hasn't risen at all in 14 years. What has risen is the reporting of crime. Yeah. So when you look at the actual numbers, the crime rate hasn't gone up significantly in any area. And yet the people who are being targeted for the industrial complex of prison, people who are being targeted, people who make up the majority of inmates, prisoners in there, are people of color. Yet in California, for instance, the majority of crime is not committed by people of color. And where do I get this information from? The FBI, the Department of Justice. They'll tell you, just go to their website and look at the numbers. There's been no rise in crime, and yet we are being told this. And going back to who are we trying to gather in our effort to make change? I hope we don't leave here tonight understanding that we're dealing with an American public that in a 23-second commercial, 26 disclaimers, including death, are put out in this. We're trying to get people to enlist in changing things who are listening to that and don't find a problem in that at all.
Yeah.
That's who we're trying to work with. In order to deal with that sort of insanity and non-critical thinking ability in practice, I think we need to, first of all, start looking at our own questions, our very own questions about our very own problems, and not merely accept that there's a crime problem in this place or that place. Not that, there's crime, but you said it, there's crime everywhere. We're looking at a country right now that just killed over 1 million people and are pretending like that war didn't even happen.
That's right.
That's who we're trying to enlist in this effort to change. So we can't leave that one behind.
Yes. I wrote on the board jury nullification because I've been grappling with how can we inject a little bit of justice into a system that is criminal for its injustice. And what I've come up with is that we each have to take responsibility for our leadership, and there's something called leadership in place, where no matter who you are or where you are or what station you're in life or what your profession is, you have the ability to speak up and make your voice heard. And if there is a problem with justice and we have an ability to correct that with a tool that's outside of the box, because I've gone across this country and I've talked to lawyers, but you know what? Lawyers are inside the box. They're inside the box that they paint for themselves. And the problem of the injustice is not only a problem of the law, but it's also a problem of the politics. So if we have the opportunity to serve on juries, and if we have an attitude that says, I am not going to convict not one young black kid driving on a suspended license, he ain't gonna go to prison, I'm not sending not one more person to prison until some big boys go to prison. They stopped him for no reason. That was racial profiling right there. So in the voir dire, I got a chance to stand up and say who I was, because everybody knew who I was anyway. It was in my home county. So everybody knew who I was, but I got up and I started talking about how the police had no business stopping the young man in the first place. Well, of course, they did not select me to serve on the jury. But the business had been taken care of because they said, no, this guy is not going to go to prison. He's not going to go to prison because he's driving on a suspended license. So, I mean, that's a little place where when we are exercising our citizenship rights, we can say, okay, this is the attitude that I take. One other thing of resistance that I do, and I know it's time, is like I don't go in the Michael Chertoff pornography radiation machine at the airport. I don't do it. I asked the TSA quite nicely to let me opt out and give me a full body massage. I will take it. I don't think